Hello guys, welcome to a new video. In this video I will talk about the stories of 3 Tomb Raider books that I've recently read, and I will also share my opinion about them. Also, my voice maybe sound a bit different. It's because I'm still a bit sick, so yeah, that's the reason behind it. And let's start with the first book. So after reading and loving the novelization of the first movie, I had to read the second and I thought it was okay. And ironically, I was expecting that the first book, of the first movie was going to be like this one, the second one. So while the first one has a new story, segments and Easter eggs, this second one just added just a few more smaller details and doesn't change things like the first one. I didn't talk about the story because you can always watch the movie if you haven't already. I don't have much to say. I basically already said my opinion. I think it's an okay book. If you want to read the story instead of watching the movie, this is a good choice. But if you are expecting something more like you got in the first novelization, you may get a bit disappointed. I got a bit, but it's normal that novelizations are like this. I think they went a bit extra in the first one and got my expectations really high. The novel begins with Lara and Sam back in their London flat, trying to get back to their old lives. However, both are struggling to adapt to a normal life after their ordeal on Yamatai Island. Lara is suffering from anxiety and PTSD, while Sam is haunted by the memories of what she witnessed and experienced on Yamatai. Well, basically they are both, but Sam still has the part of Himiko. One day, Lara receives a phone call from the hospital informing her that Sam had an overdose on pills. Lara rushes to the hospital where Sam is in a coma. Later, when she wakes up, she doesn't remember Lara and says that her name is Himiko. Lara then decides to look for an artifact named the Golden Fleece that is said to have the power to will anything, and Lara believes that it could be the key to saving Sam's life. During her journey, she meets different people. An old man that had a bit of the artifact gave it to her because he felt like it, and of course that after that he died. Lara was always paranoid about being stalked. During this story, she manages to be caught by 2 different enemies and be taken to their places. The first one is an organization whose leader is Ares, the god of war, that apparently through the years he sold weapons during world wars. He was also looking for the same artifact. Lara runs from them to later be caught by 2 strong guys that work for a famous movie star that had a horrible disease that ruined his life. He wants Lara to find the artifact so that he can be cured. Sometimes he has fury attacks as an unfortunate symptom of the disease. And because those weren't enough, we later discover that some characters are members of Trinity. There are too many enemies in my opinion. I found the ending very confusing because Lara didn't use the artifact directly on Sam. It had to do with something of having the possession of the artifact in a certain moment. It was really weird. It didn't make much sense. Because in the end she gives the artifact to the guy of Trinity that she didn't know he was from Trinity. Oh my god, I just gave a big spoiler, sorry. But yeah, basically she gives the artifact in the end. Then she goes to see Sam and discovers that Sam is Sam again and not Himiko. And yeah, it was a bit confusing. The title made the book more interesting than it is. I thought it was something epic that would focus on the supernatural powers of an artifact, but most of the book is Lara being paranoid, having panic attacks, running and fighting enemies, and the villains are always giving compliments to Lara, saying how amazing she is. It's, oh my god, it's a bit weird at this part of the compliments. But and then I start to see the writer always repeating the same situations, like Lara being constantly chased, always running from the enemies and stuff like that, having so many enemies. It turned things so repetitive. And I think the good part, maybe it was the fact that we had a lot of characters besides also the villains that maybe made the story a bit more interesting and not that bad when compared to another book that I'm going to talk about next. I also forgot to mention that this book is also canon and is supposed to be between the first book and the comics. I was surprised to see that part where we see Sam saying she's Himiko, because she actually, I'm going to give you a spoiler if you want to read the comics, you shouldn't hear this part. But she will turn into Himiko. Himiko will control her body again. And I think mention that here makes all that story a bit weird, because then she becomes Himiko again, so it makes this story a bit pointless, because I don't know, because Himiko comes back later again in the comics, so kind of pointless. So let's move on to the next book. The cover and the title of the book make it easy to see that the story is related to the game Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It takes place between Mexico and Peru. A man who works for Trinity as an engineer decides to help Lara after Trinity refused to save his family from the tsunami that she created. Note that he also dislikes Lara because she caused the accident. He says to Lara that she can get more clues in Colombia, and convinced, Lara goes there with Jonas and Miguel, you know, that pilot that dies in the beginning of the Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Yeah. The guy that gave her the clue is killed by Trinity after that, so yeah, no surprises. When someone helps Lara and is not an important character, he will eventually die. Nothing new there. The place they are going to visit is an old dig site that Trinity abandoned. They were trying to find clues and they weren't able, so they gave up. Close to it were some bandits that Miguel knew, but they managed to negotiate with them with a generous payment and with a fake story that Lara was a student that just wanted to take photos for a study. Lara enters a cavern, and most of the book will be her talking, climbing, looking at things and attacking or avoiding salamanders, while Jonas waits in the entrance. There are some chapters about Trinity. It focuses on their captain, Harper, who seems something like a copy of Constantine, at least for me, and he is obsessed with killing Lara because she killed his man. His team goes after her, after getting the information about her from the engineer that lost his family and helped Lara, that guy. Then they kill the local bandits, take Miguel as an hostage, and later Jonah too. Because Jonah always needs to get caught and be saved, it's kind of like tradition in these new Tomb Raider stories. Later they enter the cave. They are all convinced that they are able to get Lara, but of course she is the one who gets them. Basically from here it is just the characters inside the cave trying to guess which is the best route to find Lara, and Lara trying to run from them to find what she wants and to save Jonah, or also how to defeat them when she has no choice. Most of the time she tries to avoid conflict, but sometimes it's not possible, so she needs to fight. It doesn't happen anything most of the time. It drags and drags so much. It's really boring. Almost at the end, Jorna also manages to get free and kill some of the Trinity members that were guarding him and Miguel at the entrance. He practiced shooting with Lara so he can take down dumb Trinity members that were supposed to be trained. Talking of Trinity members, there is only a woman in the team that is always thinking how men full of testosterone annoyed her and how unique and smart Lara was. She felt like she understood Lara's strategic thought process and didn't underestimate her like the men did. And those would be the reasons she would be able to defeat Lara and not the other man. It was a bit weird. This part was annoying me a bit. I think this is a bit pointless. Some people will call this politics. Maybe it is. It makes no sense to be here in this type of books. I'm not used to get these type of things, and it's really annoying that people are trying to bring these things that this group is better than the other. And I kind of miss the times like Angel of the Darkness, where women could be badass and awesome just as men, you know, like we had Curtis that was also cool and badass. I think I took some photos that if I did, I'm going to show it now. It was a bit weird and I was annoyed all the time reading the book. In the end, we discovered that Lara went there for nothing. This was the best part of the story. I reached the end of the book and I realized that all this adventure was pointless, you know? Yay! So she didn't get any clues on where the Eden City was, basically. She didn't know. When I've read that, I swear that I wanted to throw the book in the trash. This book was the second worst book I have read. It is a pointless filler because this is canon. I don't remember if I said in the beginning, but this book is supposed to be somewhere between two parts of the game, you know, like after the tsunami in Mexico. It's Mexico, right? After that, she goes to Colombia, and that's where it happens, the book. And then you have the rest of the game. You know, after this story, she goes to find the Eden City in the game. So they try to fit in between parts of the game and not before the game or after the game, but in a place where it didn't make any sense. So yeah, basically this book and the other are pointless fillers that you reach the end and you realize that they didn't matter. They didn't change anything to the story. They didn't had anything interesting. They didn't had answered like plot holes. There's always plot holes in the story. It's almost impossible to not have them. So they could get something to give something more, I don't know, and not just like a stupid filler. What's the point of that? I guess it's just making money off the fans that buy everything. You can see that I'm mad. These two Tomb Raider books from the survival trilogy are canon, but don't add anything new to the story and were very unnecessary. I also really disliked, and I mentioned this before, how both books feel the necessity of saying how Lara is great and how villains admired. I think this is so odd. I'm going to share here some parts that I took photo that I was like, what the hell am I reading? I think it's pointless to use these things, you know. If you make the story cool, we will see that Lara is smart and badass by the things she does in the game. I don't really need to have characters saying how she's amazing. I hope to read more books of Tomb Raider. There's still more. There was one that I really don't know how I'm going to get my hands on it, because that book is so expensive, you know. Maybe it's made of gold, I don't know. But there is also quite a few books that I'm interested to read about the series, and maybe later I will do like a top of the books. But until now, maybe I think the book that I enjoyed the most was probably the novelization of the first movie. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like to help the video reach more people, and subscribe if you're new. Once again, thank you for watching, and until next time, bye bye!